Toongrin.com.
Hey guys, welcome to another Toongrin trailer reaction, and now we're looking at Goosebumps 2 Haunted Halloween. Now for people who don't know, which I think is kind of impossible, Goosebumps is a series of books created by author R.L. Stine. He's basically the child-friendly version of Stephen King, which I think they actually make a joke about that in the first Goosebumps movie that really upsets R.L. Stine in the movie. Yeah. Like, he gets really upset being compared to, like, a poor man's Stephen King.
Yeah, I still have to actually see the first movie, but I have read the books and such while in school and all that. Like, what I loved the most is all those cool covers that they had. Like, I've never been much into, like, super horror-y sort of things, so I took a step back from Goosebumps because I was just feeling like, it's not going to be my thing. But you're telling me, like, it's a lot like Jumanji in the first one.
Basically, Sony is really desperate to get franchises because they keep botching it. You know, they botched it with Spider-Man, so much so they had to go back to Disney and you know, beg for forgiveness. And then they tried Ghostbusters, and that was supposed to be like a 7-movie deal is what they were talking about, and then that got botched. And they did, I believe Jumanji 2 was them, and I loved it. I loved the second Jumanji movie. It's a great soft reboot, and it's great as its own thing. It works on both levels. Goosebumps, yeah, it's pretty much Jumanji, Zathura, the idea that, you know, if you've ever seen Jumanji, there's a board game, kids play it, the board game comes to life, stuff comes out of the board game. Zathura, same principle, but science fiction.
And basically for Goosebumps, it's basically he writes a book and monsters come to life.
Yeah, and then in the third act, they kind of retcon it that there's a magic typewriter.
Right, okay.
So, I understand from a money-making perspective why you would make a sequel. Like, I get it. Like, you know, kids are going to love it.
But you're still not sure what's going to happen in a sequel sort of thing. Like,
well, like, the way the first one ended, it felt like, oh, I don't really see how you can get a sequel out of this, not unless you bend over backwards to...
Well, let's see how they do that in Haunted Halloween.
I'll give credit. So far, it still beats Hotel Transylvania, because at least it's on Halloween. Yeah. So, who knows? Maybe this will be like the Halloween movie another Halloween movie that people can really enjoy every year. Because you've and I've had that conversation where people are like, you know, oh, Hotel Transylvania is a Halloween movie. No, it's not. It doesn't take place on Halloween.
It's got spooky monsters in it.
They're not spooky.
Spooky monsters.
They're not spooky. They're not spooky. They act like you and me. They're just like regular people with families.
They do not act like you and me. They got wiggly arms and wiggly bodies.
Well, that's Gendy's art style. Like, that can't be helped. So, okay, guys, Goosebumps 2, Haunted Halloween.
Ooh.
So we're gonna see this in 3, 2, 1, play. Boy, that vampire's really excited. Oh, look at the scarecrow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 70 pictures animation. Spooky town.
Because that's what kids need to know. 400 million copies sold.
One day. Yep.
Okay, that's like the premise for the first film. Right, first film.
Yeah, that's all first film footage. We're doing it again!
It's like Halloween around here.
Oh god, there's Pennywise!
I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same house.
Giving out candy.
So they find like R.L. Stine's old house and find like a copy of one of his old, like his first book.
Yeah. What's meant to find?
Oh, cool.
Okay. I'm trying to remember if that was actually a Goosebumps book.
Did you miss me?
Discovered a walking, talking dummy and you didn't tell me?
Okay, well, he seemed like a really nice guy at the start.
Oh, I think these are just all new characters.
Yeah.
They're moving.
So tiny and cute, what can they possibly do? Sonny, they're just gummy bears.
Oh! Oh god, they're gumming me!
What? See, even with the first one,
yeah,
after it finished, I was just like, that was nice. But that's it. There was no long-lasting impact to it. It was just it's nice. But I think younger audiences are gonna love these kinds of movies because it's gonna become their Jumanji, just like Jumanji is to me.
Yeah, I can definitely feel the Jumanji vibe coming from this. I definitely feel like the product placement sort of thing, like gummy bears.
That's Sony. But Sony's always had that.
Yeah.
That problem with product placement. Like if you watch Ghostbusters 2016, it's riddled with it. Jack and Jill, the movie with Adam Sandler where he plays his twin sister.
Yeah.
There are so many scenes where like labels are out for products that it's so abhorrent that it's just sort of disgusting. And you and I have seen the Emoji Movie.
That whole thing is a product placement.
Yeah, it's just for
Sony phones.
Yeah, it's a commercial essentially as a means to sell their products disguised as a movie. I don't think this is going to be that because
no, I don't think that. Like even in terms of like product placement, like that is just like a little cute thing. It's just like, oh, little gummy bears. What are they going to form into?
But at least it isn't like the kids are sitting there and it's like, man, I'm hungry. Good thing I got this bag of gummy bears and like at least they made the gummy bears into a monster, which I would argue were never in one of his books.
Yeah, I don't think so.
At least not to my knowledge.
I would think there would probably be like killer candy in one of his books.
Well, there was the Blob.
Yeah, I would think there would be killer candy in one of the books. I'm not too sure if Haunted Halloween was actually named one of his books. I feel like it was.
I don't think so. There's, I mean, it could be one of his new books. He's still writing. Like even to this day, the dude still has books coming out under his banner. So I am surprised though. It's dramatically different. Like R.L. Stein's not in this one.
It feels almost like almost a little bit sort of like a more Jumanji setup. Like they basically just unearth a thing. To basically, if they open it, they basically all hell breaks loose, sort of thing.
And they kept some of the stuff that is iconic. Like Slappy was technically the big bad of the last film. But Slappy's also sort of like the mascot for Goosebumps.
Yeah, he basically is.
He's sort of unanimous. I mean, me personally, when I always think Goosebumps, I don't know if you remember this character. He wasn't in any of the books, but he was in the marketing.
Yeah.
There was a character called Curly, and he was a skeleton, and he wore like 1970 hippie sunglasses, and then he had a purple mohawk.
I don't really remember that. I more remember like what's sort of iconic for Goosebumps for me is like the book series, The Day of the Pumpkinhead. Like where everyone just started getting pumpkins for heads. And I just wanted to ask because I haven't seen the first movie at all. Was that in the first movie?
Everything's in the first movie. Basically, the first film is just gratuitous cameos of things from the covers.
But do you remember from the people with the pumpkin head sort of thing?
They were probably in one of the big group shots.
Okay.
Because they covered like everything. Like the clowns were there.
Because I feel like with that, and especially if we look at the teaser poster, like we have the big pumpkin on front because it's Haunted Halloween and all that. I feel that's going to be a much more bigger thing this year.
It'd make more sense.
Yeah.
I mean, more so than, say, the Yeti, but they have that model from the last film, so Sony being cheap is probably just going to use it.
Yeah.
That's the only detriment to Goosebumps over, say, Jumanji is, even though Jumanji's based on a book, you know, the concept of, like, board game come to life, you sort of play with anything. But with, like... Because most people didn't know about the book, most people just knew Jumanji as its own thing before it was over.
Yeah, like with books come to life, you're basically confined within what's actually in the book or the covers and all that.
Yeah, and a lot of people are going to want to see their favorites. I mean, Slappy was always one of my favorites anyways, so I always get him. The only problem actually with Slappy that I had is I was watching the behind the scenes for the first film. The puppeteer that was doing Slappy, because most scenes with Slappy, he's actually he's a puppet.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't CGI a puppet. They made a freaking puppet.
Right.
The actor who was portraying him during the puppeteering scenes and doing his dialogue read the dialogue better than the voiceover that Jack Black did later. And I was like, oh, that sucks. The guy who was doing the puppetry doing the voiceover sounded much better than Jack Black did doing it. And in this one, even though Jack Black doesn't look like he's coming back to be R.L. Stine, he is coming back to play Slappy, because I guess Sony's like, Jack Black is like part of the brand, even though no kid is gonna care. But they've been really good to Jack Black actually, because he was in Goosebumps, he was in Jumanji 2, he's gonna be in this. So I mean, he must be doing well over there with Sony.
Yeah, I mean that's some sort of business relationship. It's going good for him, and I feel, in terms of like a Halloween movie, just feels like it's gonna be a fun one for kids. And I think I'd enjoy that as well.
I'm hoping for the best, because they did say they changed directors. Letterman, who I believe was the guy who originally who did the first one, he's been replaced because he's going to be directing Detective Pikachu.
Right.
That's its own thing. That when a trailer drops for that, we'll discuss that.
Yeah, I do want to see Detective Pikachu. I do remember, like, they basically pushed this back for Hotel Transylvania 3 because they wanted it more, like, around Halloween, I guess. It's supposed to be coming out in September 17th, something like that.
No, this is going to be released Halloween, or October 12th.
Yeah, October 12th, yeah.
So that's good, because when you think about it, we don't really get seasonal films anymore, or when we do, they're awkwardly played. Like, okay, The Grinch.
Yeah.
You and I were talking about this, where it's like...
November.
Oh, yeah, The Grinch is getting a movie. Oh, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. They don't call it that, it's just called The Grinch.
Yeah.
So it's not even How the Grinch Stole Christmas, it's just The Grinch. And then they said, like, yeah, we'll release in November, even though it's like, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, why isn't this coming out during Christmas?
Because there's Star Wars in December. Star Wars month. Well,
I don't think they're going to have Star Wars this year.
Yeah, like, even if you threw that out, it's like, even if Star Wars was coming out that month, the audience that's going out to see Star Wars is not necessarily the same audience that's going out to see The Grinch.
No, you want one that's really weird? You know what's coming out in December?
What?
Aquaman.
Right. Aquaman would die in December. The water would freeze around him.
No, he lives in the ocean. even then, just to nerd out on you, Aquaman's body is developed to withstand the extreme temperatures and pressures of the ocean. He would be fine during the winter. He'd pop out of the frozen water.
Frozen solid.
No, he'd pop out of the water a little bit chilled and maybe with some rock hard nips, but that's it.
It's like, oh, my fishy
Come,
friend.
Black Manta, parry, thrust. Old chum. Stop it. I'm hoping for the best for this. I think the first one's fine, but the thing is, much like the Hotel Transylvania movies, there's a bit of forgetfulness to them. Like, you see them and it's like, oh, I enjoyed that. But maybe like a weekend from when you see it, you sort of just be like,
yeah, I can sort of see that. It's definitely just sort of like, I don't want to be harsh to say them, almost bargain bin sort of job movie, like adventure fare.
oh yeah, I mean, it's easy to do. All you have to do is have a bunch of cool monsters and set pieces. There's barely a narrative.
Yeah.
Like, even the first, heck, even Jumanji, it's like, what's the story? We play a board game. That's primarily when you get down to the bare bones.
And our crap gets messed up.
Yeah, like, we play a board game, things come out of it. A bad animatronic lion, animatronic spiders, earthquakes, animatronic crocodile.
CG monkeys.
Horribly rendered CG monkeys. You know, that's the thing. That's how these kinds of movies work, but at the same time, there's something about them that's just, it's charming in its simplicity.
It's charming with the spectacle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the polar opposite of the 2016 Ghostbusters that was trying to be some kind of political piece.
Yeah. When also deep down they try to be a spectacle piece as well.
Which is the funny concept of, like, we want it to be, we want it to be like a political piece. This is just a bunch of broads like fighting ghosts. Yeah.
Fighting gosh.
Gosh, it's a weird thing to get hung up on.
Fighting a spooky gosh.
So that's Goosebumps 2 Haunted Halloween. I wouldn't have called it Goosebumps 2. I would have just called it Goosebumps Haunted Halloween. I think we've gotten to the point where we could probably drop numbers. I don't see a point to having a number and like a subtitle.
Yeah.
Because the subtitle kind of infers that it's a sequel.
And it is true, but at the same time, for a lot of people, that could be just good for, like, just numbering and all that, basically just organizing everything.
Didn't they do that with the second live-action Scooby-Doo movie?
Yeah, they did Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, just to give it another name.
Yeah, I was just done Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed.
Yeah, just neither here nor there sort of thing. I guess because they do Scooby-Doo The Mystery Begins and Scooby-Doo Curse of the Lake Monster and all that sort of stuff afterwards.
And I guess originally this was going to be called Goosebumps Horrorland. And now, if you don't know about Horrorland, that's a series of books he does, where it's like a theme park.
Yeah, I remember that, Horrorland.
Which, again, that in and of itself could be its own franchise. Let's hope Sony doesn't roll another one and botch this, because they really want a franchise, and all they got is Hotel Transylvania right now. And I'm pretty sure after a third film, people are like, okay, we're tired now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, let's just tune into the next one.